Hey guys, it's Lewis here, and today we're back with another video. So essentially, I did my first reaction video a few days ago. It was Superman vs Scarlet Witch, and despite the fact that not many people have watched it, I think that the reception from it was very, very positive. You know, people liked the change of format, liked the change of pace, all that sort of thing. So today I'm going to bring you another one. Essentially, DANCO uploaded yesterday. He uploaded MCU Thor versus DCEU Superman, which is possibly the most infamous matchup of the last few years. And he's already done the video. Like, he's done this topic before. He's done it twice, I think. Both times, I think he said Superman wins. So, I'm not entirely sure how it's gonna go. Also, just to get my thoughts out of the way as how I think the video is gonna go. I honestly don't know, because watching his Scarlet Witch video, it's clear that his scaling has indeed improved. He no longer thinks MCU characters are bullet level, he thinks that they're like closer to light speed, which I think is much more accurate. And he gave Scarlet Witch the win, even though he said Superman was faster. Now you gotta keep in mind that in his previous Thor videos, he said that Thor had the advantage in every way to Superman, minus speed. So I feel like this time, he will give Thor the win, although he has given Superman. He's done the video twice now, this topic, and both times Superman he's given the win to. So I don't know how it's gonna go. It could literally go either way. Comment down below who you think should win. Like I said, I'm on team Thor. I think Thor has the advantage in pretty much every category and would indeed win. Also, just before we begin playing the clips, guys, I just want to say that the vast majority of you aren't currently subscribed to the channel, so if you can just all, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know, right now, as I think about 80% of you aren't currently subscribed, we would literally go to 1,000 subscribers overnight, which is pretty incredible. I just want to thank you guys as well for 200 subscribers as well, you know. It's a miracle that I was able to revive my dead YouTube channel, and you guys seem to like the content, which really means a lot to me. So thank you very much, guys, and let's get on with the video.
He's the most powerful member of the Justice League. He's easily more powerful than Wonder Woman. He's even on par with Hot Boy Zeus over here. And one of his chief powers is super strength. And Clark has done a whole lot of impressive stuff. He's definitely put those muscles to good use. But his best showing was shifting a whole tectonic plate in order to prevent an earthquake. And even though this happened off screen, all I have to base it on is a newspaper article. Why not include it? I mean, it's really not that crazy. Thor is literally doing stuff like this, and we've seen other Superman do similar things. And in order to do something like this, to shift a tectonic plate, it would require 10 teratons of force and energy, or country-level strength.
Okay, there's two things here that most notable for me. First of all, that's the first time I've ever seen DANCO make like a calculation like that, where he said like, oh, it requires, you know, this level of force. It is, you know, small country level. I think that's very incredible for him and a step in the right direction for him and his content. And I'm also very happy that he hasn't just said, oh, he prevented tectonic activity, it's automatically a, you know, a continental level feat. I'm very happy he did that, so honestly, good job, dude.
God, all the destruction that caused. Look at how he was able to send Doomsday flying up into outer space, or just send him sailing. And then look at how he destroyed Steppenwolf. Steps is pretty tough, too. He's fought against his own Doomsday in the past. He even destroyed a moon in their fight. He survived the destruction of a moon.
Okay, this I do have issues with. Okay, so he tries scaling Steppenwolf to moon level based on the 2 scans that were provided. Okay, so I do want to debunk both of these scans, as, you know, I have actually debunked them before with the help of Mr. Versus. So referring to the first scan where it says, you know, Doomsday survived a battle with, no, Steppenwolf survived a battle with Doomsday, they fought each other. In the exact same scan, it said that Lex Luthor would be returning from BVS and would be working with Steppenwolf throughout the duration of Justice League. This never happened. We only saw Lex Luthor appear in the post-credit scene, meaning that that part of the scan did not happen. It was non-canon to the film, meaning that other parts of the scan must be non-canon as well. You can't just say, you know, that's like me giving like an MCU example, you know? That's like saying, oh, you know, Thor fought Iron Man in Infinity War, and Thor also, you know, survived, you know, he overpowered the Infinity Stones, okay? One of those things did happen, but you try, and because one of those things happened, you try arguing that the other thing happened as well. It really doesn't work, you know? One part of the scan isn't canon, therefore the other half mustn't be canon either. The second scan as well, where he refers to the moon being destroyed, he never says that Doomsday destroyed the moon. all he says in that scan is that the moon being destroyed replicated a similar event in the comics where Doomsday did destroy the moon. Like, in the comics, Doomsday did destroy the moon, however, in the DCEU, it's never confirmed that Doomsday did indeed destroy it. It's never confirmed that Doomsday himself was responsible for the destruction of the DCEU's moon. All it says is, you know, he wanted to include the destruction of the moon because it was very cool. It was a cool event in the comics that was a result of Doomsday, but it's never once specified that Doomsday in the DCEU destroyed the moon.
The military decided to launch a nuclear missile at his face. Probably not the best idea, especially in hindsight. But here's the thing, while Superman was injured, he took the blast. He took a nuclear bomb to the face, was right back in the fight just a few moments later. It's even possible that Superman was weakened from the kryptonite from Batman earlier on in the night.
The nuke that he's referring to, for context, had a blast radius, or a blast yield rather, of 450 kilotons. There is a scan for it on me right now. I don't have it, however, if you want, I will post it in the description. Or if you can join the Discord, I will send you it. For context, 450 kilotons isn't even city level, because to qualify as city level, you have to be between 1 and 100 megatons of force, meaning that the nuke that Superman took in this scene was actually really not that impressive in the slightest. Going over whether I think he was weakened or not, I think there is the potential for him to be weakened. However, we did see in the fight with Batman that he does recover from kryptonite quickly. Whether this applies to large quantities of kryptonite, I'm not too sure, because you got to keep in mind, he recovered from one kryptonite grenade pretty quick, but throughout the course of the fight, he took 2 grenades as well as being scratched by the kryptonite spear. We see that later on in the same film that this spear is capable of literally killing Doomsday, which is, I mean, obviously, you know, the kryptonite was the 100% the only reason it was able to do so, but you could argue that Superman was weakened, but regardless, even if he was weakened, this isn't a very good feat at all, because, you know, he brings up, like, country level scaling for Superman, and then implies when he's weakened, he's, like, capable of taking an attack that's not even city level. Like, the that's literally comparing apples to oranges. The difference is massive, and I will put on screen literally the difference between the two. I don't see the reason to include it, basically.
He isn't just strong, and he isn't just tough. No, those aren't the only 2 things he has going for him. He actually got a whole bunch of powers, like his freeze breath, or his hypersonic scream, or his heat vision. Oh man, his heat vision. He's able to slice clean through metal and blow stuff up. And we used to believe that he could reach temperatures as hot as 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But now, well, Superman's heat vision might actually be way hotter, way more powerful. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, we learned that Kryptonian metal will withstand its core being superheated to 3.5 million Kelvin. No problem. Which is absolutely no laughing matter. The center of our sun is only 1.1 million Kelvin. And yet, here's Superman, consistently burning and cutting through Kryptonian metal.
Okay, so looking at this, taking a step back and looking at this, it seems that he's using composite Superman. He's using feats from not only the Whedon cut of Justice League, but also the free Snyder films from, like, the Snyderverse, if you like. So, the issue that I have with the 3.5 million degrees Fahrenheit or Kelvin scaling, if you like. Well, actually, before I go into that, first of all, I'm very impressed that he mentioned the 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit from the Batman vs Superman bonus features, that is, or the special content. I'm very impressed that he mentioned that, because not a lot of people refer to it. You kind of have to assume that, first of all, the Zack Snyder version of Justice League isn't currently canon. So there is that to work. It's kind of, I'm in 2 minds here, because obviously the Snyder... Fuck's sake. That's the second time I've managed to break that thing. Essentially, the Snyder version of Justice League isn't currently canon, so taking scaling from it isn't really applicable. But then again, if he's using that version of Superman in his video, it's kind of like, do I really argue with it? Do I have the right to argue with it? So I've not got an issue with him using scaling from that film, because at the end of the day, that's the version of Superman he's using. The issue that I have is whether you can, because it's non-canon, can you scale a previous canon film with the non-canon scaling, if that makes sense? So, like, for example, there were 2 different versions of Endgame, okay? One non-canon, one canon. You said that the non-canon version, Thanos, Thor, and Captain Marvel were all universal, okay? You then try, but that's non-canon. The film's non-canon, okay? We all know it. You try then say that like Thor in Thor Ragnarok is universal, or like Thor in Infinity War is universal. It doesn't really work. It doesn't work like that. So I'm kind of in one of two mindsets as to whether, I mean, very impressive, don't get me wrong, I'm very impressive with like the new layout of his videos. It's clear that he is improving, but this is a big question mark for me. Also, just because I fucked up and I clipped the video slightly and I cut off a part from the end, basically what he says at the end of that segment is, you know, Thor might have taken, you know, a star to the face, but Superman's heat vision is like nearly 3 times hotter than like the internal temperatures of our sun. That is very misleading because you gotta keep in mind, Thor didn't take a regular star, he took a neutron star, and obviously, you know, neutron stars are far freaking hotter than, you know, regular, you know, the dwarf stars, you know, regular suns, that sort of thing. There is a misconception going around that the sun that that Thor took, rather, was only 50,000 degrees Kelvin, due to, you know, the scan saying that, like, oh, it requires 50,000 degrees to melt Uru metal. I would disagree with that scan, purely on the notion that it contradicts literally everything we know about neutron stars. I'm going to post a few scans right here of, like, the consistent temperature of neutron stars. So to make the argument that, you know, Superman, basically, okay, I've not got an issue with him saying that Superman's heat vision 3.5 million degrees, that's fine. What I have issues with is him saying that, like, Nidavellir was a regular star. It isn't, and we know this.
Obviously has some godly powers. He's crazy, crazy strong. I mean, let's talk about this. The time where Thor restarted the Forge on Nidavellir. So in order to do this, Thor takes rockets in his little space pod and just starts spinning, and then he throws it, just like he used to throw Mjolnir. And when he hits the edge of the ring, well, he's stopped. The pod is still pulling, though, and so that means by Newton's third law that Thor is having to exert the same amount of force to make sure that he doesn't get pulled off. So while the pod technically moved the rings, Thor calculated by exerting the same amount of force, meaning that Thor moved the same weight. And just how big is Nidavellir? How big are these rings? Massive! Nidavellir is the same size as a small moon. That comes from the Greg Steele, the VFX supervisor for this scene. He's the guy who designed Nidavellir. So yeah, I think he knows what he's talking about when he says how big it is. Thor is strong enough to move a small moon.
I'm actually surprised with this because a lot of people tend to just look at Nidavellir and say like, oh, it's 12 kilometers in diameter, it's like trash in terms of size. But the Rings of Nidavellir is actually a really good strength feat for Thor. Do I agree? He says that it's the equivalent of moving a small moon. Do I agree that it's a moon level feat? No, I don't agree it's a moon level feat. Reason being is because obviously, you know, when Superman moved, or when he, you know, performed his continental level feat, it wasn't continental, it was far less. Meaning that when Thor performed this feat, obviously it would be far less, because if it was a moon level feat, and if, for the sake of argument, the Rings of Nidavellir were, say if the Rings of Nidavellir were a small moon, and if Thor was moon level, he'd have probably just broke the rings completely. I think there was a calc going around a while ago that placed, you know, this feat at around large country level. So even if you compare, you know, the continental feat versus this feat would be superior. However, I think that this feat realistically would be superior regardless, because you're comparing a continental plate versus a small moon, you know? So I think this feat is superior, but let's see where he goes with it.
I mean, let's just take a look at stuff like destroying the Rainbow Bridge and destroying Sokovia. Thor was cracking and shattering apart the Rainbow Bridge with some truly just devastating hits. Hits that were making the Bifrost Observatory feel like an earthquake, actually shaking all of Asgard. That's insanely impressive. Then there's Sokovia, and well, Thor just annihilated that city, releasing a multi-city block shockwave with one hit. He neutralized Sokovia's kinetic energy and countered it, and all in all, this just comes out to a city-level feat. Which, I mean, does make sense. Thor was literally destroying a whole city with one hit. And Thor isn't just out here destroying cities or moving small moons. He's not all just big, huge muscles. He can take a whole lot of attacks, too. Like, a whole lot of attacks. Like Nidavellir. Probably the most impressive thing any hero has done in the MCU so far. So what exactly is going on here?
You understand, boy? You're about to take the full force of the star. It'll kill you.
Well, Nidavellir is actually a neutron star, which has a quarter of the sun's luminosity. But here's the thing, you can't say that Thor was taking all of the star's power. He was actually just taking all the energy that was hitting him directly. He was also only withstanding it for a little while, roughly 47 seconds, before he collapsed and was knocked out and was sent flying away. So, what's all this mean? Well, track with me here. The largest nuclear bomb ever detonated was a 50 megaton explosion, or 50 million tons of TNT. Thor picking the neutron star is equivalent to him surviving the largest man-made nuclear explosion every 100th of a second for 47 seconds straight, or surviving this explosion for 4,000 times, back to back to back to back to back, just over and over and over again.
So essentially, I decided to record all of the Thor points that he mentioned all in one go and just sort of address them, because I feel like the Thor part of the video is going to be the most controversial part. So first of all, with the shaking the Bifrost thing, the Bifrost feat, he mentions that it could shake Asgard. I'm not entirely sure if this is true or not, but if it could shake Asgard, you've got to keep in mind that Asgard was confirmed to be the size of, like, the United States, but it was also confirmed to be several times more durable and dense than the Earth. Meaning that if this was the case, Thor in this scene, sorry for the no glasses, in this scene, if that was the case, Thor would literally be shaking something several times more durable than the Earth, which is incredibly impressive. The city block points for the Sokovia feat, I don't necessarily agree with. I think that city block would not have destroyed a whole city. He does mention, though, that it was kind of a city he destroyed, meaning it would be closer to city level. Honestly, you can kind of take this for what it was, because obviously Iron Man did help out. So I don't really care about that. What I do care about, though, is the neutron star scaling. I kind of knew going into this he would fuck up on this feat, because a lot of people do fuck up when it comes to this feat. So let's go into this the best I can. So first of all, he mentions the neutron star has a luminosity that's like smaller than the sun. I don't think this makes much of a difference when you factor in the insane energy output of a neutron star. It really wouldn't make, you know, the luminosity would make fuck all difference. Like, the energy output is just insane. He mentions that Thor didn't take all of the sun's energy output. This is actually false, due to the fact that the rings of Nidavellir, what he doesn't seem to realise is that the rings of Nidavellir were stated on at least 3 separate occasions to function as a Dyson sphere. Dyson spheres are hypothetical megastructures capable of channeling a large percentage of a star's energy output, focusing it into one spot, and that's essentially what the rings were doing, channeling all or a vast majority of the sun's energy output, let's just say 60%, all into the forge, which obviously Thor was taking a relatively point-blank range. So yeah, it's pretty obvious he messed that part up. He claimed that Thor survived the star for 47 seconds. This is very, very wrong. Thor, in the same scene, he asks Eitri, how long will it take to heat the metal? And Eitri replies, a few minutes, maybe more, meaning that DANCO claims he survived it for 47 seconds, when in reality he survived it for 180 seconds, possibly longer. So yeah, that's definitely very incorrect. And to be honest, I'm surprised he got that wrong, considering, you know, you really just have to rewatch the scene and you'll be able to find that part out. So, he mentions as well that energy output would be the equivalent of surviving, what was it he said? He said it was the equivalent of surviving a Tsar bomb every, like, 100th of a second or something like that. I don't really agree with this. Reason being is because, as I said, the energy output of a neutron star is just insane. You know, you have, energy output, like neutron stars just by existing can destabilize solar systems. Like, the Tsar bomb ain't doing that. You know, two neutron stars collided in the real world at just under the speed of light. It created an energy surge equivalent to that of 200 million suns. Like, the Tsar bomb ain't doing that. And you got to keep in mind as well that, like, magnetars, which can be 1,000 times superior to that of neutron stars, can exert more energy in 1/10 of a second than our sun can in 100,000 years. Keep in mind, if we say neutron star is 1,000th of that power, a neutron star in 1/10 of a second could exert more energy than our sun can in 100 years, which obviously a Tsar bomb ain't doing that. So, yeah, this feat, I'm kind of more lenient towards him because I knew he was going to fuck it up, because a lot of people fuck it up. But that's fine. Also, just because I can't be arsed posting all these scans again, link to Blazing Void's video breaking down the Nidavellir feat, as well as link to my link to my video as well, where I addressed could Superman survive the neutron star. I posted all the scans there. I can't be arsed posting them again. Links to the videos will be in the description.
Well, then his absolute best is truly insane. Kind of puts Superman's one nuclear bomb to shame. And it doesn't just stop there. It's not just strength and durability. Thor has plenty of other powers too, just like Superman. I mean, like his lightning. It can kill Chitauri Leviathans. It can help melt vibranium. He can throw lightning out absolutely all around him, send Hulk flying, send Thanos flying, and all this is just really scratching the surface. I mean, the guy is creating massive storms all around him in an instant. But it's really when he combines his lightning and Mjolnir or Stormbreaker. That's when he's at his absolute best. And when he does that, well, the dude almost took out all of Jotunheim. Seriously, I'm not kidding. It was shaking the whole planet, cracking the ice layer of the ice world, and formed a giant canyon that dropped out to the depths of space. And it's not just that, because Thor actually created a canyon that was roughly 100 times the size of the Grand Canyon, the grandest of all canyons. The director even said that Thor had broke the floor of the planet apart with just one hit, with just one lightning blast.
The damage that Thor has done, which is essentially breaking the very floor of the planet up.
And that's not even the strongest lightning bolt that Thor has ever created. He saved that one specifically for his sister. I mean, it completely consumed the palace, which is already like the same size as mountains. It's pretty freaking impressive.
I'm really surprised at how much effort he's put into this video. This video, in my opinion, is, regardless of the outcome, this is, in my opinion, the best Thor versus Superman video DANCO's ever done. The amount of effort he's put into it is incredible, in comparison to his previous attempts. So going into his lightning, the breakdown of his lightning, honestly, there's really not that much I have to disagree with. You know, he mentioned it could split apart Jotunheim, essentially split the planet in two, which is incredible, especially since Jotunheim is, even though it's like a donut-shaped planet, it was still stated to be the same size of the Earth, as well as the same, like, weight, density, that sort of thing. So he essentially split a planet that is equal to the Earth in half, which is fucking broken. I also like that he mentioned, you know, the Grand Canyon, you know, how he split the planet in, like, it formed a massive canyon 100 times the size of the Grand Canyon. It's fucking broken scaling. So basically, whenever people try to say, oh, you know, DCEU characters use, like, they emit shockwaves or their punches, yeah, hit me up when they create a canyon 100 times the size of the Grand Canyon with an attack. I'll wait. But, in terms of the final lightning bolt with Hela, he actually, I do agree with this. This was, like, at the time, this was his most powerful lightning blast. I don't know if it's his most powerful lightning blast now, given that he has Stormbreaker. However, what he didn't mention was that this lightning blast actually did nearly knock out Hela. I'll try and find the scan. Basically, this lightning blast, and you got to keep in mind Thor at this level of power, not only was he capable of nearly knocking out Hela, but he also dueled Hela for an extended period of time, and it did look as though he was going to beat her, like they were that close. Obviously Hela was above Thor at this point in time, but it's still really impressive. Like, honestly, good job, dude.
So, who wins here? How is this fight going to play out? Well, strength-wise, durability-wise, they're really pretty similar. I think I might give Thor the slight edge in both those categories. Pushing a moon is more impressive than pushing a tectonic plate, and taking a neutron star is more impressive than taking a nuclear bomb. But Superman definitely isn't far behind at all.
Okay, I'm happy that he gave Thor the edge in both categories, but where I disagree with is the notion that, Superman's not that far behind, because based on the feats that he's brought up in this video, Superman would actually be really, really, really far behind Thor. You got to keep in mind, you're comparing a tectonic plate to a moon, and if I just go on here, where is it? Yeah, so he scaled that feat to country level because he brought up 10 teratons. The difference between country and moon level is literally like 10 to the power of 14 versus 10 to the power of 19. So it's pretty much like at least 1,000 times superior Thor's feat if you were to take it as moon level, which is what he's taking it as. Now, comparing the neutron star to a nuke, the nuke that Superman took wasn't even city level, and that's under the assumption that, you know, Superman took all of it. You know, that atmosphere, the weapon would have been nerfed. So you're essentially taking a nuke that, also, let's just compare, he brought up the Tsar bomb. Comparing the bomb that Superman took to the Tsar bomb, you're comparing 458,000 tons to 50 million tons. So even if you just compare the bombs side by side and say, oh, Thor took the strongest nuke ever detonated versus the one Superman took, Thor's is massively superior. So comparing those two feats for both characters side by side, Thor completely obliterates Superman out of the water.
You can't underestimate Clark here. That being said, I also like Thor's powers more than Superman's. Hal definitely has the most powerful attack out of the bunch. 3.5 million Kelvin heat vision is seriously insane. and Thor's 30,000 Kelvin lightning can't even remotely compare. But Thor just has so much more versatility of how he uses his lightning, while all Superman can do is just shoot 2 beams out of his head. Plus, there's Stormbreaker, and don't act like that can't injure Superman. I mean, it straight up decapitated Thanos. It impaled a healthy Thanos right in the chest. And Thanos is super tough, too. Like, tough enough to snap the Infinity Gauntlet twice. We all saw what that thing did to Hulk. And then, of course, this is a fight, and it takes skill to fight, which is something that Thor has a whole heck of a lot more of. I mean, we're talking about a fierce warrior who's been out there fighting and pillaging and battling for thousands of years. He's definitely going to pick up some skills along the way. I mean, maybe not skilled like Captain America or Batman or Daredevil, because he is still a god, doesn't necessarily need skill, but he's able to plow through the shield agents, beat up some Asgardian warriors, then fight against Hela, who can solo a whole army. He's definitely more skilled than Superman.
Okay, so just addressing a few things here. So he mentioned that Superman's heat vision is by far the most powerful attack here. I don't agree with this in the slightest. You got to keep in mind that even, Steppenwolf, he brings up Steppenwolf being moon level, which I did debunk earlier in the video, but Steppenwolf was able to take Superman's heat vision. You got to keep in mind, obviously it sliced right through his crown like butter, but during the, the fight, Superman was, hitting him in the chest, comboing it with his heat vision, mixing it up, and Steppenwolf was able to survive it. You got to keep in mind when comparing it to Thor's lightning, Thor's lightning was able to knock out Hela momentarily, prior to getting Stormbreaker. With Stormbreaker, it's even more powerful. You got to keep in mind that Hela has literally looked at like the casket of ancient winters, which has multi-continental to moon to planetary, that sort of range. She looked at that and literally said it was weak in comparison to her own power. You got to keep in mind the Tesseract as well, a literal Infinity Stone. She looked at that and said, oh, it's not bad, but it's nothing impressive, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing special. You got to keep in mind the Tesseract literally has been able to open wormholes, which requires a fuck ton of force, and it's actually way more force than people tend to look at. Very, very overlooked feat. It requires like more energy than the sun could generate in like 1 million years. It's fucking crazy to create a wormhole. The Tesseract's capable of doing that, and Hela is just like, it's not bad. And Thor's lightning is capable of knocking out Hela, so it's incredibly impressive. More on Hela in another video, because she is pretty fucking underrated. Mentioning as well that like his lightning and Stormbreaker and stuff can hurt Superman because it can like injure Thanos and Thanos can do the snap. To put it into context, the snap logically should scale massively above the Infinity Stones, and individual Infinity Stones such as the Reality Stone was capable of, it had like 4 scans of it being planetary to star to universal, that range of power. Obviously that's a massive range, but you get the point. Also, coming back to the Tesseract, it was stated in the first Avengers it had the potential energy to literally destroy the Earth, and obviously Hela scales massively above that. So not only is that a good feat for the Infinity Stones and by extension Thanos, but it's also a good feat for Hela as well, and Thor does scale to both of these characters, kind of. So yeah, based on the feat of based on the point that he mentioned with Thanos, Stormbreaker should easily slice through Superman like butter. I like the skill argument he brings up, how obviously Thor's really skilled, but he does use his power as well. Honestly, saying he's not as skilled as Captain America or Batman's debatable, because I mean the dude's literally a god and he's been alive for like fucking millennia. But saying that he's massively more skilled than Superman, honestly, that's fair enough. Let's just leave it at that.
I think the real kicker here is speed. And you knew this was coming if you know anything about this fight. It's kind of the crux of all of this. And Thor isn't necessarily slow. In fact, you can see that he's just as fast as the lightning he's throwing around. He can travel around and move at lightning speed. And so yeah, he's not what you might call slow. But compared to Superman, Thor is straight up a statue. I mean, look at Wonder Woman. She's crazy fast. She's able to dodge bullets, deflect automatic gunfire. She can straight up lasso and catch lightning. So she should be just as fast as Thor, if not faster. And Superman had her literally frozen in slow motion. He was able to instantly blitz her. You can't tell me that he can't do the same thing to Thor.
I can actually, and you're going to watch me do it, good sir. So essentially he brings up some good scaling for Thor. This is far better than saying that he's bullet level like he did in the previous video, even though he did bring up bullet scans for Wonder Woman, which is a bit concerning. Essentially, Thor is way freaking faster than people give him credit for. So, like, people saying, like, oh, Superman's light speed, you gotta keep in mind that Thor, even back in the first Thor film, he was capable of reacting to light speed blasts from the Destroyer armor. So if Superman tries blitzing Thor, he's gonna be able to react to him. You gotta keep in mind as well that Thor, as well as other characters within the MCU, have been able to react to Mjolnir. Mjolnir in Dark World has a feat where it was able to travel from the Earth to the Sun in around it was traveling from the Earth to the Sun and back in about 2 seconds. And this feat was calculated to be like massively faster than light at around 400 times speed of light. And you got to keep in mind that obviously Thor, Hela, Curse, Thanos, you know, these kind of characters react to Mjolnir, and obviously Thor does it on a daily basis. There's also the fact that Thor consistently can react to Hela's blades, both, you know, at the start of Ragnarok as well as during the final battle. You got to keep in mind that Hela's blades were capable of traveling faster than the Bifrost. Now you got to keep in mind the whole tennis ball in a train argument doesn't apply to the Bifrost, as it functions as a tractor beam, meaning that it pulls objects towards Asgard at a set speed, meaning that, you know, for Hela's blades to travel faster than the Bifrost or to catch up to Thor and Loki, they would have to be faster than the Bifrost itself. Keep in mind the fact that the Bifrost has calcs for, you know, thousands, millions times speed of light. It's able to travel galaxies in seconds, as we saw in Dark World when Jane was traveling to Asgard. So these blades can travel at that level of speed massively faster than light, and Thor consistently keeps up with them. There's also the fact that Thor's lightning is not regular lightning at all in terms of speed. Thor's lightning is capable of blitzing Thanos to an extent after he obtained all the Infinity Stones. You got to keep in mind that Thanos, even at his weakest, like the weakest we've ever seen him, he's still capable of reacting to Captain Marvel's photon blasts, which are confirmed to be light speed. You got to keep in mind as well that in the video with Scarlet Witch, he does bring up light speed scaling for Scarlet Witch, so I don't really know why he's saying that she's light speed but Thor's lightning speed. That doesn't really make sense, and it's a bit of a contradiction, especially when you keep in mind that Thor and he brings up Love and Thunder like clips, but he doesn't bring up Love and Thunder scaling, which is I think a bit weird, considering if you watch the film you'll know that Thor and Mighty Thor, or Jane Foster Thor, they're pretty comparable throughout the film, and Jane has a feat where she was capable of circling the circumference of the Earth a couple of times in order to find someone, and this feat was actually calculated to be like a couple of times the speed of light, and Thor and her are pretty comparable. So saying that he's only lightning speed when he has all of these feats on the table is very fallacious and definitely incorrect.
And I think that's all there is to it. Thor might be a little bit stronger. He might be a little bit tougher. He might have a god-killing weapon and all the lightning powers he can handle. But if he can't land a hit on Superman, then what's the point here? What's Thor going to be able to do? Nothing. He can't do anything. The fight would go the same way that it did with Steppenwolf. And Steppenwolf isn't like a joke. He was able to fight against all the Justice League and beat up on all of them and be holding his own. He fought against a Doomsday before, and they destroyed a moon in the fight. You can honestly put him on a Thanos level tier, a Hela level tier, a Gor level tier. He's in that realm of discussion. And Superman just destroys him with his speed. Superman can fly in there at super speed, hit Thor with his tectonic shifting punches, fire out heat vision 3 times hotter than the sun, and just beat him up and down. Thor, we love you. We love your jokes, we love your hammers, we love your goats. But you can't win here. You just can't. Clark is going to take this one. Superman wins.
Okay, I'm not going to say I'm surprised by this outcome, because I made the stipulation from the very beginning of this. Like, I know that this video is very long, this reaction has been very long. I wanted to be very thorough to basically make this the definitive video on the topic. I knew he was going to fuck up speed and basically give the advantage to Superman based on speed. He claims, he said that like Superman's like a little below Thor and stuff. Based on the feats that I brought up, Thor is like at least 1,000 times superior to Superman if you go based on DANCO's reasoning, okay? Not based on my reasoning, based on the reasoning he brought up, comparing a tectonic plate to a moon, comparing the nuke he took to the neutron star. Thor would be at least 1,000 times superior, okay? Now, bringing up the speed, the fastest that you can possibly say for Superman is maybe light speed or slightly slower, as you got to keep in mind Flash wasn't going all out in his encounter with Superman, and you got to keep in mind that like regular ass parademons, the same dudes who can fight Batman, were capable of tagging Flash when he wasn't going all out. So you got to keep in mind this speed would not be light speed, or even if it was, it wouldn't be anything above that. Thor, however, does have, you know, light speed scaling. He has scaling that's like massively faster than light, you know, whether it's Hela, you know, Gor, Mjolnir, or even Thanos. You gotta keep in mind Thanos, even at his weakest, could still react to light speed attacks. So, you know, and obviously Thor consistently scales to Thanos in his prime, or at the very least when he's at 100%. You know, he mentions again the Steppenwolf moon thing. This is incorrect. You gotta keep in mind that he never survived a fight with Doomsday because, you know, the other events within that scan didn't take place within the film, so obviously that event mustn't have taken place either. The Doomsday destroying a moon thing is just a reference to the comics. It's never once stated that Doomsday in the DCEU did that. He literally says in that same scan, you know, this event within the comics was cool, so we wanted to introduce Doomsday in our films. Like, that's literally all the scan states, so it's taking it completely out of context, the scan. I think the biggest wank he says was when he puts Steppenwolf on the same tier as Thanos, Hela, and, you know, Gor The God Butcher. I will debate anyone on the topic of those three characters completely embarrassing Steppenwolf. Like, that is very, very incorrect. Especially going into Gor scaling. He doesn't bring up Love and Thunder scans throughout the entire video, so it's very misleading him saying that. Especially when you keep in mind, Gor the God Butcher with the Necro Sword was capable of killing every god in Omnipotent City, and this includes like a couple of Celestials that were seen in Omnipotent City. You gotta keep in mind the average Celestial completely embarrasses every single feat that Steppenwolf has shown, so this is very misleading. You gotta keep in mind Hela literally scoffs at Infinity Stones. She thinks that they're weak in comparison to herself, and obviously Thanos can survive all 6 Infinity Stones on a few occasions within his body, so no, Steppenwolf doesn't even come close to those 3 characters. I'll debate anyone who thinks otherwise on the topic. And when you keep in mind the speed scaling that I brought up, Thor should have no issue against Superman whatsoever. You know, he's reacted to light speed attacks even in his debut film. Superman isn't gonna, you know, rush in there and blitz him. Thor's just gonna react, swing that Stormbreaker axe, and literally just cut his head off. So no, I don't agree with the outcome to this video whatsoever. My final rating for this video is an 8 out of 10 or A tier, as essentially even though he fucked up speed and he got the outcome wrong, there's no denying the fact that his content has definitely improved recently. The production value that went into this video was incredible, even though I disagree with a few things and even though he fucked up a few things. He also didn't introduce Love and Thunder scaling at all, which is I think a bit weird. I think that he's just genuinely not seen the film, because, you know, he brings up Love and Thunder clips, but he doesn't bring up the scaling. It's very weird, especially when he brings up Gor right at the end, saying, oh, Gor, you know, Steppenwolf and Gor are comparable. You know, I think it's just really weird to say that without bringing in, like, you know, feats for the guy. It's very misleading. But anyways, guys, that was the reaction. This is by far the longest video on my channel yet. If you made it all the way to the end, you guys are awesome. And if you disagree with anything I say, or if you want to debate me personally on the topics presented in this video, I'll even debate you on Thor vs Superman. Why not? Let's rekindle the old, you know, fires that once ignited within the Discord server. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want to reach out to me personally. You know, I'll get you into the Discord server. I'll send you my Instagram. We can go and debate the topic. Feel free to let me know what you enjoyed about this video. How would you rate DANCO's video? Like I said, even though I disagree with the outcome and I disagree with a few things like speed, this was still a very good video for his standards, and I do think he is getting better. And you know, here's to the future, a very bright future in the Versus Battle community. This has been Lewis from Gaming Rift, and we'll see you all in the next one. Take care, guys.